So I call this one a distorted grid project, and it's about two things. It should have something to do with value. Remember, value is the lightness or darkness of any color. And then also a word, gradation. So gradation means when something changes from one thing to another, very gradually usually. So I use the word gradation to talk about value changing from, say, for instance, a dark value gradually into a light value. See how this is darker over here and then it gets lighter over here? I wonder if I could do better. I bet I could. So I'm doing that with pressure. I'm creating very light value with very little pressure. So one of the things that I would like you guys to do on this value experiment or exercise is let's start by defining our space. I'm just going to get in here and make a casual little rectangle because I want to control where I'm going. And then let's call this a distorted grid. So what I do sometimes is I'll start with a line, but not necessarily a straight line. Now what I'm going to do is I could put all of the parts the same distance apart, but instead I'm going to do closer in some areas and farther. I think I'm going to get closer here. So I do it farther out there, get a little closer. I'm going to go farther out here, and then maybe come a little closer. And on every one I do, I'll do that. So now I'm farther away from it here, closer there, gonna get farther here. Even if I go off the page, I could pretend like I'm going there. Same thing, farther, closer, shunk, pew. I'm gonna do the same thing here. These are each closer, so this is gonna get closer here, a little farther apart there. Coming down closer. Oh boy, that got really close. And coming a little farther, and we're just running out of space there, but this one is coming down closer. And again, bang. Cool, Jules. So now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to come in a different direction. One of the obvious things I'm gonna do is this looks like this area wants to be a grid right there. And I want to come across these. Since everything's closer here, I'm just going to do something casual like this. I'm going to start out here, make it closer there, and farther here. Wider here, closer at the center. Now it's gotten weird because my first lines were so weird. But that's okay. And really all I'm doing is dividing this up into areas. And so I want to create a gradations, values, from dark to light. That's what a gradation is. We sometimes mistake that word for graduation. Graduation is normally like an award you get for changing from one form to another. Gradation, like grades in school, gradation is simply moving from one thing to another. But we want to have value contrast, one more term. So contrast is when we have, let's say for instance, we have a couple of things here. I'm going to have two overlapping things, and how can I tell these apart? Often one of them will be a little bit darker, and so that is called value contrast. When something is darker. So I can have this side, just like the other one, a little bit darker and create my gradation, softening like this until it's lighter on this side. You see that? We're going to try to do that with every one of these. So I'm going to get in here. I'm just going to choose this side. On mine, it's the right side. I'm going to make that a little darker. I'm just using a number 2 pencil, by the way. And I know if you guys don't have any drawing paper at home, it's totally cool if you do this on lined paper. Or heck, whatever you can find. So see how I'm trying to lighten my touch, so I'm going from a very dark side here towards a light one. Now right here, since I want contrast, I'm going to do the same thing. On the right and bottom, I can start dark, and I'm doing that with pressure, but then I am lightening up so I can keep doing that. I want to show you something. If you look at this side of my hand, see how I've already have smudges on it from down here? So one thing we can do is we can grab another sheet of paper. Normally I'll try to use a cheaper paper for this. If I'm using a good drawing paper for one, I'll lay my hand on a piece of cheaper paper. And that'll help us keep everything cleaner. But I'm going to keep doing this from the bottom. Ooh, okay. Smaller shapes might be a little harder. And remember that this is the way that we've learned to use our tools. You see how far I'm holding it out in front of me. So I'm not coming all the way like this, oops, and trying to do it just like I'm writing. I hold the pencil out in front of me. That keeps my strokes softer, but I can still get darkness. If I decide to bear down a little bit, I can still bear down with it like this. But when I hold it out in front, first off, it's like, oh, what's it like? I'm holding out in front of me like a sword. I am drawing like a warrior right now. I am focused. And I'm making bold marks. Warriors are never thoughtless. They're precise. So see how I'm keeping to the right side and the bottom for each of these. And we're just going to continue. All right, I'm going to keep going on this. I think it's going to look pretty cool when I'm all done. And it's going to be a really great value experiment. We're going to be working with our lights and darks, lots of different values, going gradually between them so that we're creating a gradation, dark to light, light to dark. And we're working consistently from one side so that on the opposite side, we always end up with very good value contrast. The dark is right next to a light there on each one of these, so we can see each individual piece. All right? You guys do well. Have a good one.